Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Creator Jump Off podcast. I am so excited to have Yoni Lotan on. Did I say your name funny? Lotan.
No. Nailed it. That's actually, nailed it.
Really? Because I feel like my brain went back into New Yorker mode and I didn't say Lotan.
So it's Lotan, and in high school, everybody called me Lotan. And I don't know if you've had that experience where it's like you're like tired of correcting, so you just be like, yeah, go for it. But yeah, nailed it.
That's the first time I think I've ever called you Yoni Lotan.
How did it feel?
Getting it right.
How did it feel? Did it feel different?
It did, especially like with my Western New York accent. That felt very foreign, but apparently it was correct. So
TFW when the name is pronounced right.
Yes. So thank you so much for doing this. I'm so excited to get into. We kind of got into it before we started recording,
right?
And it was really good. We'll get back there. But Yoni you're probably the funniest person I've ever met for realsies. Yoni and I went to the same school together. We went to School of Visual Arts. We went to Harvard, and then we went to Yale.
We went to the Harvard of city schools that are primarily called School of Visual Arts.
Yes. We went to the Ivy League of colleges that did not have a campus.
We went to the Ivy League of 23rd Street. That's what they say. I went to SVA, baby.
Yes. But you were film and TV, right?
Correct.
Okay. I was graphic design.
Arch nemesis.
That's where your department was, like where all the street boys were. Like the whole school was female, femme, and gay, queer. And then the only dating pool was film and TV.
Yeah, there was like 6 straight guys in like Pulp Fiction t-shirts.
Yes. So that's how I know you. And I want to tell one little story, and then it'll stop being about me. But I love to. First of all, I have never run into someone so much as you in New York. Over the years, like you and maybe one other person, like I would always see in the city. And it was like, I ran into you a lot.
Yeah.
Considering how many people are in New York, it's New York City or whatever. I ran into you a lot, which is like a weird, cool phenomenon that happens.
Yeah. I love it. When was the last time we ran into each other? On the track? I'm just kidding. I don't know.
Well, I don't live in New York. I moved.
I didn't know that.
I live. It's okay. We haven't talked in a long time, but yeah, I live up in Rochester, where I'm from.
Sick.
Upstate. But I moved out of New York in January of 2021, so we wouldn't have bumped into each other for a while. Mm-hmm. But the story I want to tell is when we were at SVA. I was dating a friend of yours, and you invited us to Passover dinner with your family. And it was really sweet. And I was really sick. I just that semester, I started smoking cigarettes again, and I was just always sick. My body was like, please don't do this to us. And I was really, really ill, but I was so flattered and honored that you invited us to come to Passover. I was like, fuck it. I'll Robitussin it up. And I went, and we went to, I believe, your mom's apartment.
Yeah.
I think downtown. Yeah. And it was the first Passover and the only Passover that I have done since. And it was really sweet. And your mom was there. And I believe your mom's boyfriend or partner.
Now husband.
Okay. Everyone was so lovely. The food was so good. And then you do this extraordinary thing where you write your own Passover script.
Yes.
And I don't remember all the details, but I think there was like dinosaurs involved and maybe like a Blockbuster video store.
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, the specifics of that. So this is actually, I'm happy that you brought this up because this is something that I'm really, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like, I would say I'm proud of, but it's like, it's a creative project that is unique to me and my family alone. And I forgot how many years ago I decided to do this, but I said every year I'm going to write a Passover script. And basically what I do is I write the script. My family has no idea what it is. And then I print copies and then we cold read it at the table. So it's basically an opportunity for me to make people say things. And it's basically to say, like, have my mom say like popular slang, like swish, swish, bish. And that was one year. That joke is still in the script. And then what's so nice is we always invite people over for Passover and they get involved in the script and it's a good time. But it's a tradition I think I've been doing it for like 20 plus years. And what's so cool about it is I keep the same script and then I add on to it and make changes and whatnot. So there's still like jokes and like references from like 2004, 5, 6. And it's this like special script that it's like a creative idea that was just like, oh, this will be fun to do. But at its core is the soul of Passover, which is you're telling a story to like remember the past. But what's so cool is that the story is the past and also growing into the future. It's like, and it's something that I love to do. And I take it very serious. I like schedule it into like 2 weeks before Passover. It's always written the last day before Passover. One time it was such a chaotic time. I remember I was living in Fort Greene at the time and I had to like print out the scripts and I like rode my bike. This was before I had a printer and I got hit by a car on my way to Passover. I was fine, but I like printed the scripts and it was like this whole chaotic thing. But I remember finally getting it. I was like, I'm running a little late. Everything's fine, but I got hit by a car.
Oh, no.
Just to show you the dedication to this project. But yeah, I'm happy that it's a memory of yours.
It was, yes, it was like a sweet, beautiful memory. And I'm still like touched that you invited us like to such a like sweet, beautiful, intimate family moment. And it was so fun. And you were, I remember like you printed scripts. It was in that like typewriter script print, like it was stapled. Oh, yeah. It was very, very professional and it was hysterical and sweet. And I think it might have like slightly misrepresented what Passover is to me as a newbie.
Yeah. Yeah, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is not involved in the Passover story.
Damn,
but he is in ours.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, so that is a magical memory that I have that I love, and I love to tell people about it. And I'm really happy to hear that you've continued the tradition and you share some of it online too.
Yeah. And it's so funny. It's like my manager is like, you should like sell the script. I was like, who's gonna like Hulu is not gonna want him. I don't know. It's just, and it's very sweet. It's like a very personal project. You know, I'm like, the audience is my family. But I've had so many people reach out to me and be like, hey, can I have a copy of the script? Like, I would really love to see the script. And I'm just like, sure. But a lot of it is like inside jokes about like my sister in grad school. That's the thing. The story is the story of Passover, but it's filled to the brim with like just jokes within the family. And yeah, if you want to see the script, at me at Instagram at Yoni Lotan.
I hope people blow you up. I want it. I think too, like, even if people didn't get the inside jokes, it'll kind of like the humor of it and the personalization of it will come through. It's just like, it's so sweet. And I love watching your family act it out.
Yeah. It's really funny to see like older, like Israeli people be like, wow, like these pyramids are lit AF, like just like saying shit that they would never say. Yeah,
It's so good. So
right now I believe Phineas from Billie Eilish's brother is a major character in the script, and it's just like, and it's like the way we do casting is like every scene I'm like, all right, so in this scene we have Pharaoh, Phineas
Eilish.
Yeah, Phineas Eilish. Shout out.
Amazing.
Anyway, yeah.
So, why are you so funny, Yoni? Like, tell me about, I feel really like corny when I say this, but like, what were you like as a kid? Like, were you trying to like make people laugh at Passover when you were a kid? Like,
it's funny.
What do you think like was your kind of gateway into what you're doing now? Like would you say like you're a comedic actor? Comedian?
I'm an actor with like a comedic, like, and my soul it leans towards that world. So I'm a comedic actor, but I would say I was a weird kid. Big surprise. No, I could actually tell you it's a really interesting question, because so much of like creativity and like the like urge to do it's like so personal. Like that's the thing is like I don't know how else to describe it, but it's like me. It's like my soul, whatever that means. But like, and I just remember this is like I was like whenever I was just like a kid, but I remember like making jokes to myself and like loving to do that, if that makes any sense. And when I started seeing a specific type of like comedy, which I will say what it was in a second, it was like as if I saw myself. I was like, whoa, this is it. This is it. And that person was Weird Al Yankovic. No, like I would say like my biggest influences for sure in terms of comedy and also creative are like your classic millennial stuff, which is like, I mean, The Simpsons, the television show, I think, obviously it's had a major impact, but I knew who were my friends in elementary school were the people who like, not only like liked Simpsons, but like got like, I remember understanding the jokes or like the rhythm of the jokes and the beat of the jokes. And then there were certain kids in school that were the same, and those would become my friends. Those would be like, and we would like, and Weird Al Yankovic also same exact thing, just like, and then the Zucker Brother movies. If you're familiar with the Zucker Brother movies, they did Airplane, but like Naked Gun this is a very specific reference, but the funniest movie ever made is Naked Gun 33 and a third, the third one. To me,
I need to watch it again.
It's just like joke. And it's like, this is like, what's up? It's like, this is it. And it's so funny. There's a podcast I listen to about, it's called Bandsplain. You know Bandsplain?
No.
It's about basically like, it's cool. Basically every episode is about a band, and then she goes through like the history of the band. Like literally she goes through the history of the band, kind of like this podcast with your guests. And there's like, and Weezer was like my favorite band in high school. And on the Weezer episode, she was saying, like, something she talks a lot about in the podcast is how music in particular is such a interesting art, because it's like one of the major arts that every single person like develops their taste for themselves. Like in the sense of like, you're just like drawn to like sure, it's like there's influences from like older brothers and sisters, but like it's one of those like decisions that you make as like usually in the middle school or high school, where you're just like, I like this, I don't like this. Like it's like your whatever your like tastes of things. Music is an easy example of like I think Monty Python is very funny, but like I think it's funny, but like for some reason like Zucker Brothers is me. And that's my thing. Very similar. And don't get me wrong, I love Monty Python. But there's just like something about how it's so interesting how certain art, certain like pieces really like, I could only describe it as like, that's me. That feels like me. That is what I want to do and make. And I remember being a young kid and like making these jokes to myself, like, I'll be like, you know, I mean, you've had your share of being around like comedian people. We call it doing bits, you know, like it's just like when like comedy, like when like people who are comedians like hang out with each other, they like, you know, they make jokes and they do bits. It's like I remember doing that with myself at like the youngest age. Of just be like, oh, you know, it'd be funny if like a guy comes in and he's like eating a sandwich. And yeah, so like that was like, I remember just that. And then in terms of acting, I didn't know I wanted to be an act. I knew I wanted to be an actor at a young age, but I didn't know until my sister went to Lee Strasberg Institute. It's like an acting school in the city. And I remember I just like went to go see her class show. And I remember seeing her on stage and I was just like, I could do that better. I was like, I could do that better. I could do that better. And that was like kind of, it started off as being like, I could be better than my sister. And I was like 7 or 8 or 9, maybe 10, like really young. And then that's when I started acting. And I knew I was going to do that.
So since you were a kid, like it was very clear. I love this. This is my language. This is my thing. Yeah. And I want to go do it. And I'm going to do it better than my sister. God damn it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I did. She stopped doing it and is a therapist now.
So, ha.
Now I win. She makes more money than me, but I have fun. Actually, I don't know if she makes more money than me. But that doesn't matter. It doesn't
matter.
Money, as we will get to, money is.
Did people yell at you for making yourself laugh?
Okay, I got two little tidbits for you. So, okay. And another thing which I honestly do, and this is like a deeper conversation, which I don't think you even knew. Another thing about my story, I guess, or my life is I definitely like learned how to grow from it, but like definitely OCD, like obsessive compulsive disorder, and had very intensely as a kid in the sense of like I would do the like classics. I'd like, you know, tap on things for a certain number. This is really personal and I'm happy to share. I would not change my underwear. Like there'd be like some pretty gross shit that I would do. And obviously now as an adult, so much of it is my relationship with anxiety, and who knows, the root cause could be trauma from my ancestors in the Holocaust or whatever. But clearly, like that was genetically, like my mom is very similar too. And my mom is a very creative person. And I'm like realizing that like so much of my creative soul is very intertwined with that. Of just like, it's just like my world. It's like processing my world and stuff. For example, well, it's not really an OCD thing, but this is a fun story for you. When I was younger, I used to visualize scenarios in my head creatively, just like, you know, like
daydream, make believe.
Right. And one of them would be this like space battle. Like it was like a space battle, but the way it would physically manifest is I would like kind of like a tick. Like my hands would be on my head and go like it would be like this. And I would do that in class. Like I would be like walking around with and my teacher, Mrs. Miller, shout out, hopefully. And my second grade teacher, Mrs. Miller, hope she's doing okay. She was an older woman back then. So
we hope she's still with us. Comment below if you're still with us.
Mrs. Miller. Oh my God, her ad sign, at Mrs. Miller. She had a parent-teacher conference with my parents, and she said to my mom, she's like, I think your child has autism. And my mom said, no. My mom was like, there's no way. This is not happening. And she like left the meeting really upset. I don't know if that's the story.
Do you think you're on the spectrum?
It's so funny. I socially am number one. Like when it comes to social cues and it comes to like my social muscle and my like understanding people is off the charts.
Agreed.
In other facets, I'm not great. Like, and that, I mean, yeah, I'm on the spectrum. We're all on the spectrum. It's a spectrum.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But like, and I think that's part of the process of what I love about getting older is like learning, is just like knowing that, being like, oh, like when it comes to numbers, I'm not great. And, asking for help when you're not good at something is like, I think a major lesson in life for everybody in the world ever, because we're all on some various spectrum. There's like, and that's the thing. It's like, I would say like, and that's the thing, like talk about like who I am as a person, soul wise. I think from the get go, I was until this day, very sensitive person. To the point that I think I'm like my sister, my younger sister is the same, not my older sister. We're very similar. I am learning that my dad is actually, but we have a sense of people, like, and I think it's like an empath, whatever. But like I have this, it feels like an X-Men skill. It feels like a fucking like sixth sense of being like, I can read people's energies. I notice. I think something that a lot of empaths do is they match physically. Literally, like if someone has their arms like this, I do my arms like this as like, and it's kind of like I'm on the same page as you. I'm on the same page as you. And it's like, I think from the get-go, I think that was just who I am. And I think that's why, if I may toot my own horn, I think that's why I am a very good actor, or that's why I'm yearning to that profession, because that is what that profession is. You're literally, it's the art. I call acting the art of people, because you're like, literally you're creating people. And as a painting is in terms of showing us whatever our emotions or feelings, actors are showing us people.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to share another story, another Yoni story. We're getting really deep and intimate. It's really lovely. And I'm going to share something that's like not a funny story, but go for it. The guy I dated, he lost his brother, and while we were all together in college, and you just talking about how like you are really good at empathy. Like I saw that firsthand, and I have a very visceral memory of you at the funeral, or like at the service, and you were so like, your heart was so kind and open, and it was really, really beautiful. And
thank you.
And it was, we were kids, like we were really,
we're like 24, 25 when it happened.
Yeah.
Probably younger. Like we were in college.
How old was I? I was a little older when I got to SVA. I probably was like, when this happened, like maybe 22 or 23, but like, it was not, like, I think it was shocking, and like, no one knew how to handle it. And like, everyone just got really fucked up and did the best we could. But I do remember like, you were so kind and like warm hearted to him and to everybody in that situation. And it was like, you were like really adult in that moment. And cool. It was really, it was really, I'll never forget that, so wow. I do agree. And to parlay it into, one of your projects. So right before our interview, I was looking at your IMDb, and then I rewatched NYC Tips and Tricks. Hey, which is a short film that you wrote and starred in a couple years ago. If you please, everyone, listen to me. Google NYC Tips and Tricks. Actually, I'll put it in the show notes too. It's on Vimeo, and anyone can watch it. You put
NYC Tips and Tricks and my name, Yoni Lotan, because there's actual NYC Tips and Tricks blogs.
Yeah, there's a lot of like weird blogs.
I know. Too. We should have thought about that when we wrote it.
But if you see like put in his name to Yoni Lotan and look for the Vimeo clip. And I rewatched it, And I was I just got my nails done, and I was watching it in the nail salon, and I was laughing to myself at the nail salon, but it's so good, and I wish that it was a full feature because I want to get to know your. He was Cody. Was his name Cody?
Cody, yeah.
Yeah, I want to get to know your character. Like I want to see his whole day, you know.
Right.
But anyways, it's hilarious, but it's hilarious because it's like it's that funny thing of like it's painful to watch. He's like in this. I don't want to like give it away or whatever, but like he's doing this kind of like funny millennial thing of making a YouTube video, but he has this like family crisis that he needs to take care of. But he's like, shit, I'm working, I'm making my YouTube content. And there's a few moments in it where I laughed out loud because it's funny, but it hurts because he like, you know, you see him on this emotional roller coaster of like trying to, his energy is up, you know, and like doing the YouTube thing, which is hilarious because you nail it. Like, like every tips and tricks dude on YouTube, like you fucking nail it. And then to see like the pain, you know, when he gets a phone call or whatever, it's so good. And you really did like, it really came through. And so, you know what I mean? Like it's like that uncomfortable laugh of like, this is so painful to watch.
Yeah.
That I have to laugh. It's hilarious.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. You should check it out. No, it's like, that's the thing. It's like, I think so much. I mean, I watched, you know, I'm a big Soprano head. I've been watching a lot of Soprano clips, obviously, like everybody, because it's the 25th anniversary. But something like somebody was saying about it is he was saying like comedy and like, you know, drama and pain are like, and like, that's the thing I love about Sopranos so much, like aesthetic, like thematically is like, it's the funniest show on television. Sopranos is hilarious, and it's hilarious because life is hilarious, and that's the thing. Like it's like really fun to hit that note, to hit that emotional note, because it's like life is so crazy. It's funny. It's both at the same time and all the time. All the time. Life is not fucking serious, and life is not a joke. It's just like this insane thing that happens. And I think there's so many times where we're like, what is happening? And that's the goal.
Yeah. Well, you nailed it. Yeah. And I rewatched the whole Sopranos last year for like the second time. And like,
there you go.
Paulie is like my Italian uncles. You know what I mean? Like I know Paulie, you know?
Well, my favorite thing about Sopranos also is these are, you know, mafia people, but I feel like when you watch Sopranos, you see so many people, you know, in these characters, and they're like I know so many friends who are these types. It's just like there's so many things that they touch on in terms of the human experience and condition. That show is all about relationships, and just like the various types of relationships we have in our lives, the hierarchies, the like, yeah, just like the people who we mistreat in our lives, the people who we want to treat in our lives. It's awesome.
And you know, because you're from Northern Jersey.
And it hits hard because I'm from Northern Jersey.
Yes.
Tony's house is in Upper Saddle River. Check it out.
I thought it was in Caldwell.
Is it in Caldwell?
I thought it was. I don't know.
Oh, we'll look it up later. We're doing a podcast.
Yeah. Anyways. So back to your timeline. Like, so you were like, I'm going to do this better than my sister.
Right.
So like, talk to me about like high school and like making the decision to go to the Harvard of 23rd Street School of Visual Arts.
Yeah. So in high school, basically, so here's a little bit of the story of me. I had OCD, as I mentioned, and I actually did not cut my hair because of it. I have really long hair. And I was really scared that if I had cut my hair, something bad was going to happen to me, like that type of OCD. And in middle school, and that was the thing, like in terms of like my story, like I got made fun of because of it. They called me like Pocahontas. They called me a girl, all this stuff. And I obviously cared, but like, it's so funny. I just like made peace with it. And then, as we do in high school, I grew the confidence to cut my hair. So here's another thing. A major influence on my life was I went to a socialist youth movement for summer camp. That was my summer camp. And shout out to Hashomer Hatzayir. It's a summer camp. It's a Jewish summer camp, but we don't pray. It's affiliated with the kibbutz movement in Israel. And so much of what happens in the camp is they practice intimacy. And I mean, it's socialism. The oldest person at the camp is like 21. Like the camp director is like young too. And everybody's young. And yet so much of it is about like we clean up the camp. Like there's like literally this cleanup time. Like the kids are cleaning up the camp. So you're like treating it's just like a very intimate setting and you're learning responsibilities. And within that environment, when I eventually became a counselor, I was like head of the creative like team that ran the like plays and activities. And those were my best friends, the people in that summer camp. Those were my like intimate friends. And I had long hair at the time and they didn't care. So I would come back to middle school and I had like some friends, but like, I was like, yeah, whatever. I got my real friend. I wasn't like a loner because I knew that I had my friends. And if anything, I 100% used comedy as like a survival thing in school. Like I would make fun of myself too, like self-deprecating, like 100% like humor was like people, I wouldn't say people like beat me up. I was not bullied. I just like was a kid with long hair, which is so funny. Now it's in, but,
I know that's a look now. I'm like,
I'm crazy.
Picturing, I'm like, you must look amazing.
What I look like is like in right now. But back then because back when we were kids, it was like the fucking.
With the frosted tips. Yeah. Lots of gel.
Nah.
Here's now moving.
So I eventually get out of my haircut OCD phase. I cut my hair in the CIT trip here to Israel. Like it's like and the second I cut my hair, I was eighth grade to going into high school. I hooked up for the first time. I can't say her name, but we're still friends. But it's like the second I cut my hair and I looked whatever, like how people wanted, whatever. I looked immediately like I started hooking up with people, like, and it really opened my eyes of like, oh man, people, not that people suck. I don't want to say that people suck, but it really opened up my eyes to like, of just like who people are. I was just like, oh, all these people who like didn't talk to me now talk to me. And I had like, you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't say it was like it's weird. Like, cause I obviously still think about it today but like it was this like realization of like, I wouldn't say that people are fake but it opened my eyes to be like, oh, people are like complicated or like people are, it gave me this like uplifting power of like you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Like, of just like you got a lot of like what you say is not what you say because like you were like kind of mean to me when I had long hair. Now I have short hair and you're like me. Like I'm the same exact person I was literally last week. What the hell is this? And
it's like when I got boobs. I was I was invisible and not cool, and I had like a gap. I wasn't cute, and then I got boobs, and then it was like, oh, Josh Bonsignor noticed who I am now.
Josh, hey. Yeah, no, and I think, and that's the thing. Maybe a lot of people have this experience where you're just like, whoa, what the hell is this? And there's like, I don't know, like, so like in high school, I had friends, but I didn't have, eventually I would have like my group of friends, but I was definitely, I was the kid that people were like, oh, he goes to the city on the weekends. Like I would go to the city on the weekends and hang out with my camp friends who live there. I grew up in Jersey, like 30 minutes away, 20 minutes away. It was like an easy bus ride. But that was the thing. Like I would take the bus to the weekends and go to a bar, and we what was it? Like fake ID, like. And then I'd come back and I'd be like, "Hey, what's up?" And people were like, "Whoa, like who is like this guy's cool." So that and on top of that, I was also like, I was a class clown for sure. Yeah, and I don't know, like I weirdly knew I was going to be an actor. Which now looking back, I was like, oh, I should have done better at school, but I didn't really.
Why?
Good question. I didn't really care.
Why? Who gives a shit?
I didn't really care, and it's so funny because it's just like now I'm like obsessed with history. Like I'm like fucking reading up on YouTube, like on a list, like wow, I didn't know like the salt trade in 1699. Like
yeah, I think
like,
that's just age. I'm into history shit now too.
Oh yeah, 100%. But I was like, fuck, like I got this for free every day. Taught by a gym teacher. But yeah, no, in high school, basically, I knew I wanted to do what I do. And I was a part of this like Lee Strasberg Institute. Like I was like acting in the weekends. And I was like,
you went to Lee Strasberg?
I went to Lee Strasberg Institute in the city. Yeah. As a kid. And then there was a teacher there by the name of Bill Balzac. Yep. That's his name.
Good name.
Sure.
Good name.
Bill Balzac. He's great. He took an interest in me and was like, me and so like 6 other students, he basically had like started this like separate theater, and he invited a bunch of students that he like wanted to like work on. And, so I was like acting all the time, like extracurriculum and yeah. And I was like a C, B- student. Like I did fine. I didn't get into the schools I wanted to get into, but that's a good, it's so funny. It's just like, you know, Allie,
did you want to go to NYU? Did you apply to, I mean, not to embarrass you.
From the get-go, I knew I wasn't going to get into NYU. I didn't even try.
Really? Because yeah, I did want to ask you that, like, why not Tisch?
I wish Tisch. My grades were not as good. Were not good for Tisch for 100%. I didn't even want to. So what I did was I did the acting programs for a lot of colleges, which involves a monologue. And maybe I did do Tisch, actually, now that I think about it. But I remember like being like, I'm not even going to try Tisch. But I remember I auditioned for Emerson. I auditioned for Sarah. I auditioned for a bunch of schools in which my guidance counselor, whatever, was like, your grades are there, but like these are specific acting programs that are like really respect, like it's kind of like the equivalent of like a sports team, like not like I won't get a scholarship, but they're like, oh, his grades aren't bad, but we loved his performance. So like those were the schools I applied to. What happened was I didn't get into like a majority of them, or the ones I really wanted to. I got into Rochester Institute of Technology.
Thank God. I love RIT, but like, thank God you didn't go to RIT.
Yeah, it was too far. But I did get a scholarship for Pace University in the city. So the game plan, and by the way, also story-wise, at this time, my parents are going through a divorce, and my mom was moving into the city. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to Pace University, take the scholarship, live in the city, and just like figure it, like, I know I'm going to do act. Well, that was the thing. It was like, I know I'm going to do acting. So like, I'll be in the city. I could do do auditions for theater, you know, like that's the thing. And this is Natalie, this is a great podcast. Like just hearing, like, I'm like hearing my story. I'm like, this is cool. And
you're doing great.
Yeah.
Great.
No, so basically I went to Pace, and from the get-go, I knew I was not going to end in Pace. Pace University, I love them. Really good time. Psychopaths.
Okay.
A kid, literally, I'll never forget it. The like lobby of the college. This is the building, you know, that says Pace University. That's like downtown.
Where is it?
It's like downtown. It's like right next to the Brooklyn Bridge. There's like a big, ugly ass building that says Pace University right next to the Brooklyn Bridge.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was on the 7th floor, the 7th Deadly Sins. That's what we called ourselves. We are in college. This kid, Pat, he was just like big fucking dude. This is like the lobby of a college, and it's like glass doors. And he just got so drunk, and he was like going through something, and he just like smashed this like giant glass wall. And then he like came up to the floor and sat, and like word got around. It's like, Pat, like, what the fuck did you do, Pat? And he'd just be like, and then like I remember like security running in and just being like, what? Anyway, psychopath at Pace.
God.
So I was like, oh, and this is another thing. I was doing acting at Pace. And Pace, it was cool because Pace actually had a program with the actor studio, you know, like inside the actor studio.
Yeah.
We got tickets to their screenings. I saw Al Pacino's was 5 hours long.
Oh my God.
And they edited it down, and it was so boring. I was like falling asleep. It was crazy. But I will say something I do think about a lot, Ray Fiennes, you know.
Yeah, I love Ray Fiennes. Had a huge crush on him earlier.
He said something that I think about a lot, and it was basically like, if you could boil down like what would you say to like young people everywhere? And he said, enjoy the process, which is like a popular like concept, but I think about it a lot. It's like the process is life. Like the product isn't the goal. It's the like, and it's true. And like, I'm sure we'll talk about it, but this project that I'm working on now, there are certain moments where I go to my director or whatever, and I'm just like, this is the most fun. And it's like, and then we're like in like rehearsal too of like, you know, it's like the process is it. So you constantly have to remind yourself, because the process is also like the hardest part. You're like, that's when you're like making decisions, and that's when you're like going against deadlines, and that's when you're like fucking going crazy. And I think it's always a nice reminder to be like, no, this is it. Like this is, I know we're getting deeper philosophical, but like something that I'm learning is like life is doing, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's what life is. It's just like doing. And like, it's weird and it's crazy, but like in the end, like it's just like the act of doing. And, I forgot what I was talking about, but,
Ray Fiennes.
Right. So then Pace University, I was doing theater, and I realized that I didn't want to graduate with a degree in acting in theater. I realized what strategically makes more sense is I do my acting on the side. Not on the side, but like I do my acting, and I should get a degree in something else. And then I realized what I should do is I should learn the mechanics of film. I was like, oh, I should learn how to make a movie. And that way, like it was in hindsight, a great decision, because I'm like, not only will I learn more about what it is, what like a director is looking for, like, so I can like know what goes into the film process. So like, as I'm acting, like I know what, but also like I like creating. And so I transferred to SVA because that was in the city. They had a really good film program, and I transferred at SVA, and I loved it. I met some awesome fucking people, and it was at SVA that I had a buddy named Rome Davis. Remember Rome?
I don't think so. Film guy?
Yeah, screenwriter. Rome was my buddy, and Rome says, hey, there's this comedy sketch group that is holding auditions. And this is why I'm freaking out about this story now. Like the story of me is like, it's like, oh, this is cool. And I remember I was like, oh, that's fun. Like, yeah, I'm going to audition for this comedy sketch group. And then meeting those people was the same exact feeling I had when I was telling you as a kid. I was like, oh my God, my people. And like Paul I'm going to shout out some names: Paul Briganti, Mike Antonucci, Drew Kaufman, Peggy O'Leary, Nick. Nick was
St. Ange. We'll say his last name.
Okay,
give him credit.
Nick St. Ange. That's how I met Nick. It was like when I got to that group, talk about like what we're talking about. It was that feeling of like, oh, this is where I belong. Like this is it. And all of those people watched the same exact stuff. Like Paul and Mike and I watched like the same exact, like Paul is like a big Zucker brother head. Like, I mean, it was like awesome. I would 100% say the main thing I got from college was this group. Because what happened was, so then Paul, who was the president of the club, he was like, guys, it is mandatory to take classes at UCB in order like to do this group. It was $400, but
wasn't cheap.
It wasn't cheap. And I remember being annoyed at that, but he was right. And I took UCB and that's how I got into the New York comedy scene. Like aside from, like we would do college stuff and everything, but then I met a whole, like I didn't even know that the UCB theater was a thing until I went to this sketch group. And then when you go to the UCB theater, you're meeting all of these people that had that relationship with comedy from, I mean, seemingly all over the world, but it was the like North Coast. It was like the North. It was just like
East Coast, yeah.
East Coast,
yeah.
And then that is basically from then on, I grew and became an working actor in New York City. And yeah, and that grew and grew into like doing my own projects and figuring stuff out and doing this and like getting a manager, then getting an agent and all this stuff. Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by the Creator Jump Off community. You're a creative who's running a side hustle and you feel super overwhelmed and confused by everything you have to do. I have something real awesome for you. It's called the Creator Jump Off community, and it's built to help you feel organized, focused, and empowered so you can hit your business goals this year. This is not a get-rich-quick thing. It's legit business training, community, and coaching, all taken from my experience as a creative entrepreneur for over 15 years. Life is too short to make art that you hate. Come check out the Creator Jump Off community and see how you can kickstart a profitable side hustle starting today. Go to nataliemertz.com/creatorjumpoff to learn more. I just want to, before we get into like post college and stuff, like I was a huge fan and I would go to it was called Bleak Comedy.
Yes, we were called Bleak Comedy.
Yes, Bleak Comedy. And you guys were rock stars at SVA, and your shows were so good and so funny, and like the energy felt kind of like dangerous in a way. Like it was like, you don't know what the fuck, like definitely like no fourth wall sometimes, you know what I mean? And you guys made amazing videos, and I'm like I'm so glad I got to like witness that and kind of, and Drew Kaufman.
Yeah.
Drew was in Bleak too.
Of course.
I love him too. I had a funny run into him years after college, and we just saw each other on like 8th Avenue and 14th Street. And we were just like, what is life? We just got really deep in like 5 minutes. And then was like, all right, bye. See you in like 10 years or something. But anyways, but Bleak you guys were really in sync with each other. And it was, and like, not to sound like an old person, because this was a bit ago, but it was, I think like it was a really kind of magical time to be in New York and in comedy. And because of you guys, and like, you know, I was hanging out with Nick, who was in Bleak for a moment, and he was really into comedy. Like I took classes at UCB and would go to, you know, Bleak would perform at the Del Close Marathon, which was like a 72-hour comedy marathon once a year, and it was so much fun, and no one would sleep or shower, and you just queue up and watch shows all the time, and then eat at Dinosaur Barbecue and just be very malnourished. But it was like unforgettable. It was like so much fun. And I remember you guys performing at the Creek and the Cave when they were still in New York. And it was really, and that's how I met you. And it was, you guys were like really, really magical. And like all of you and Bleak were so fucking good. And you guys really were in sync with each other. And like the talent was so good. It was like, I don't know. It felt so legit.
Yeah.
Like, the shows were so fun. And also y'all are legit. Like I don't know what everyone is doing in Bleak, but a lot of people stayed in comedy.
Oh, big time. And then even more so. So Paul went to high school with, he was in Stratford, Connecticut. He went to high school, and in high school he had a comedy, him and his friends had like a little comedy group in high school. And in college, what would happen is they stayed in touch, and we would perform at each other's college campuses. Like we would do it's that group of people who would become my like best friends now. Like Travis Hellwig, I don't know if you ever met. He like they went to GW and they went to BU. Like those were the three schools: BU, GW, and SVA. And it was like 3 college comedy groups. I would say it's like 7 people per team. I would say like 70% of those people are in the industry or comedy in various fashions, like directors, producers, stand-ups, actors, graphics, like and it's really special. It feels really special. And it's like, and it's so interesting, like so much to tie it back. Like whenever I watch documentaries about like artists, like that podcast about the music, like the bands, like, and again, like I'm not saying we were little talking heads at CBGBs, but there is such a familiarity with that story of like, you're just like making fucking art with a lot of people who feel the same way in a city at the same time. And you form this like, that was my college. Like that was my college. And you form these like special bonds. And I'm so thankful for it. You know, like it's just like the life that I lived and live and I'm living. I am living that life for sure still today. Like my best, like these are people who are near and dear to me and are still collaborators. And
do you still collaborate like with anyone from Bleak? Or just in general from that time?
Definitely from that time. And it's so funny. It's like there reached a time when I was like, I kind of need to do my own thing for sure. And I'm very happy that I did that because you got to do that to like develop your own voice. But you know, Paul is a very successful director. He's direct
stuff on SNL. Yeah.
He worked at SNL for like several years, like 6 years, 7 years. He directed the Please Don't Destroy movie that just came out. I'm in that movie.
Yes.
Like that's the thing is like I have been in commercials that Paul has directed for sure. I've written screenplay with Paul. Mike, I used to have like a long running show that was just us two. Peggy and Drew, I haven't collaborated with in a long time.
Peggy's doing like straight up stand up now.
Peggy lives in Philly and is like a stand up juggernaut. She's like the queen of Philly. And Drew, I believe Drew's in LA, and Drew actually is very big in the metal, like metal music.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like
what was that talk show?
I believe it's like 2 minutes, like
to midnight.
2 minutes to midnight. I gotta forget. It's like
it was so good.
Well, he's still doing that. It's some fashion. Cool. Like he's very a part of the music comedy community in the metal world.
Metal world, yeah.
Metal world. So yeah, so I feel like, and that's the thing. Like going back to that thing, it's like you're gonna love this. This is for your podcast listeners. So I go to again, everything's connected. We love it. Also, I hate Trump, but I gotta say, I love doing like talk about how like you like match people and stuff. I can't get enough of doing like
yes, you do an excellent Trump.
But I do it naturally. I do it naturally. It's such a fun way to like it's such a great way to talk about what you want to talk about. Shit, what was I saying? So because I had OCD, I would eventually get to CBT therapy. I don't know if any of you...
Cognitive behavioral therapy?
That bingo bango. And it is very prominent with people with OCD. It's like, that's like literally like, if you have OCD, if you're listening to this and you have OCD, I cannot recommend enough finding a CBT therapist. It is literally, my relationship with it is, it's changed my life. One of the exercises that we do in CBT, it's called like your values. It's like value cards. So basically my therapist, I can send if anybody wants, I can send it to you. It's like a list of 150 values. Okay. And they're cards. You cut them into little cards. And I'm looking because I have my values on my wall here. They are all, it's like a lot of terms of like different types of values. Example is like health, honesty, pleasure, humor, self-esteem, helpfulness, like just like values. And the exercise is you sort through these values and you have to make 10 very important, 20 important, and then discard the rest.
Ooh, I like that.
And it's really, really hard, but the process of that makes you figure out what are your values. And the whole exercise is like, whenever you're like in this crazy state of mind and you're feeling really anxious about like not doing anything, whatever, you look at your values and you try to do something that is in line with your values. And that makes you feel good. And
so it's like it almost helps you kind of like flip a switch, maybe?
Like I would describe it as like, and again, I don't know the science behind it, but like I have OCD, I have ADHD, I like my brain is like, and what comes with that, as a lot of people with that type of brain can relate to, is you feel bad. You feel like you're just like, oh, I didn't accomplish, like I didn't, like it's like you try to set these like physical work goals and it's impossible to physically do it because your brain's just like not focused enough. And then you're like getting mad at yourself. What my therapist says is like, whenever you're in that state, look at your values and try to find something that you can do that will like notch a belt in your values and you will feel good. You will feel like you've done something. It's a really cool list because it also kind of makes you feel whole. Like you feel like you're like, you know what you want or you know who you are. And, humor is really important to me. It's like that's my point being of all this is like so much of and this is kind of what the movie is about, near NYC Tips and Tricks. The last line in the movie, if you can remember, he's like, I don't know my values.
Yes. Yeah.
He's like, I don't know my values. And the lady, I mean, the spoiler, the lady's like, yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Wow.
But like, that's the thing is like, it's such, and again, the thing is, it's like, she says to do it like every few months because sometimes your values change. Your situation changes. Sometimes you have kids, so it's really good to check in with yourself and be like, what do I like want and need,
I love that. And I think about that because I talk to a lot of creatives and I have some clients who are creatives. And I think that this is a big thing, I think, for humans, but we'll focus on creatives, is that we get so caught up in day-to-day life and paying the bills and just surviving that we don't take a moment to really think about, like, why am I not happy? Or why am I really stressed out? Or why am I so miserable? And like, what would make me not miserable? And I think like taking that pause, right? And like thinking deeply about, who am I? What are my values? What is important to me? What is a goal that I have? And something that I love about your story is like, you connected with like wanting to act and be in that world, and you stuck with it. And I think like that happens for a lot of creatives, is like you match your energy or whatever, like you find your people, you find your calling, you find your medium. And then it's like the challenge is like to stay with that and not give up.
Oh, it's extremely hard.
Yes.
It's something that I'm sure you hear all the time. And like, I was just thinking, like, I'm scared as hell. I don't want to lose this. I don't want to lose, like, I'm so scared of falling out of love with it. Like, I'm so scared of that. I'm scared, like, and
what are you scared of, Yoni? Like, what would you say, like,
well, we were talking
about life, or like as a creative, like the thing that you fear the most?
Good.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah,
let's bring it to the surface.
No, we were kind of talking about this earlier in the podcast. But what I think a lot of us in the creative field struggle with is the relationship with being a creative and capitalism. And by capitalism, I mean like this system that like, it's really goal oriented. It's like,
and money focused and deadlines.
Yeah. And so much of being a creative is the personal experience. It's like, like I'm inspired. Like, it's like, I need to be inspired to make it. Like, I need to do this. It's like why writers have such a hard time when they have like an advance. Cause it's like, all right, you got to crank the book out in like 4 months. And you're like, hey, that's just like not how it works. And that experience can really fucking fuck you up. It could really fuck up your relationship with your creative self, with your, there's a reason why actors are fucking psychopaths. It's like, it's a really hard job, and it's such a personal art form, and rejection is such a part of it. And you have to so ask any actor, like 60% of the job is the mental health, the self-care you have to do in order to handle this job. like so much of the.
Tell me, like, what does that look like for you? Like, how do you navigate all this?
Support from, I think that's the thing, is like, I am been very lucky to be, and that's the thing. It's like that's the thing that I also ask an actor. So much of it is luck. It's like, you have to be in a family situation that is, financially obviously helps, but also like emotionally supportive. Like that is like a huge thing, is to have people who are there for you emotionally. Like, it's a lot of checking in within yourself and being like, really making sure you understand the reality of the situation. I took an audition class one time in LA that also had a major impact on my life for the better. And one of the lessons he does is Robert DeVonzo. If you're an actor in LA, Robert DeVonzo, he's an incredible teacher for audition. He's an audition teacher. One of the lessons he teaches is we had homework. We had to like work on a scene. The next week we all perform the scene. Everybody's amazing. Everybody's amazing. And he goes, all right, everybody stand up. And he chooses one person to be the casting director. And he's like, all right, Shauna here is going to cast the role of the 2 characters in the scene you just performed. Shauna, we're looking for, reading the description of the character, and also based on all the performances you saw, to choose a person. So she chooses a person, and he's like, why'd you choose her? Why'd you choose him? He's like, well, like the description said, needs to looks like da-da-da-da-da. She goes, okay, cool. And now cast this person. And then she chooses another person. And then the teacher, Robert, goes, don't choose her because I don't like the height difference that they have. We go with somebody who's more closer to his height. So she chooses another actor. All of this being is like, you could have the most incredible performance and you have zero control over that.
Yeah.
Zero control. He's like, you have zero control. And then this whole thing is like, what you do have control over is doing an amazing audition And that matters because casting directors, when they see that you're churning out all of these like incredible tapes, they're like, oh, this guy's a good actor. They will find a role that fits your physical type, person, it will come.
So what I'm hearing is consistency.
100%.
Just like getting the reps in. I feel like that's a lot of people are talking about consistency on the internet or whatever, but it's true. It's like, like I think the secret to being a working creative or whatever, you know what I mean? Like whatever your goal is, a big part of it is like, don't fucking quit, right. and consistency, right? Like that's something that we can control. I can control how tall I am or my weight or my eyebrows or whatever, but like, I can keep showing up. So that's cool.
Yeah. And, it's so funny. It feels like this podcast was a blessing because it's making me think about this project that I'm working on is really it's a show. It's a live show. If you're in New York City, it's called New York, the Ride, the Show. If you're in New York City, I know it's my own show, but it's truly, it's truly like one of the greatest projects I've ever, like, I cannot, obviously because it's mine, but like, I could say with such certainty, you're going to enjoy the show because that is the goal. So basically what this show is it is a fake virtual reality ride through New York City, but it's a live show. So it's like it's a comedy show, but it's in the format of like, those like Universal Studio rides when you're sitting in a chair and it's like left, right. It's that. And I play this like tech CEO character that developed this technology. And then when we go into the digital ride, we experience different characters also played by me and also, other comedians that I bring in. And every show is different. Every show there's a new structure and a new order. And I also have a producer who's my business partner. We're like 50-50 in this. Like she is running the business side of it. And it's what's interesting is like it's like, and that's such another thing about the creative process is like you're working with other people and the way that they work. And it's like, I think not just in the creative field, but it's like literally that's what life is like if everybody had empathy, radical empathy, there would be no problems.
Agree. Yeah.
Like
it's and what you do is highly collaborative.
Yes.
Right? Like everyone, like there's a lot of people involved.
Oh, right. And this
show, personality.
Right. And this show in particular also, it's also like an interactive comedy show. Like it's like there's games and there's like, but you're right. Like the soul of this show is collaboration, not just like the audience is like literally in teams and working and like doing games together throughout the show, this comedy show. But like each guest, I like to collaborate with them on whatever their character is and like help them figure out what their game is. So basically, again, I should mention this ride, basically they go to different New York locations and then they meet New York characters and then that person does like a character bit, but then there's a game. So like, it's really important to me. It's like at the soul of it is this like collaborative, like game experience.
I will do everything in my power to be in New York so I can come and see it.
Well, we basically have a month. We basically have a show a month starting in March, April, May, June, July, August, September.
Whoa, amazing. And I will be there.
And, like we were supposed to have a show in February, but I couldn't do it because I was sick and it just like came up too fast. And yeah, that's like basically we had to reschedule it. And that's the thing is like so much of this process has been learning I'm nervous about doing these monthly shows, but at the same time, I gotta do them. You know what I mean? Like, so that's like, I'm like trying to figure out how to create in this structure, but yeah.
So yeah, that sounds ambitious. I'm assuming too, like the way that you're doing this project is different from things that you've done in the past.
Big time.
Okay. So it's new territory and I would imagine too, an ongoing monthly show is like, that's a big commitment. And like you said too, like there's new pieces. This is just like Passover. This is like you got it. You've been doing like your Passover thing that's annual, not monthly.
Yeah, like that's when it comes to like the actual product. This is like been a culmination of many things in my life. Like this is, nobody can do this show besides me, which is something that feels really cool and special. It's like, and at the same time, it's like, it's a lot of work. And I'm not getting paid currently. Like right now we're in the red, but we have dreams of like getting sponsored. Like that's the thing. That's where my business partner comes in, is that in order to make money, I have to hit these specific deadlines and quotas because she needs me to do that in order for her to work. And that's what's been interesting and challenging, is like figuring that out. Is like, it's like my creative process and her creative process, and just trying to figure out how they can both coexist.
Yeah. It's hard.
Hard. Very hard.
It's hard. I mean, can you share like a bit about like how you write for this show, or like what does your process look like? What does it look like to like get in? Do you have to get in the zone? Like, what are some of your non-negotiables?
It's a great question. And it's so interesting because it takes time to really figure out what makes you click. The obvious one, right off the bat, which I'm sure so many people, is like, I think like a walk really, really works for me, like really hits the spot for me. It's like really hard for me to like write like with like blank page. Like I need to have like, it needs to be like in steps. So like for the New York, the show in particular. So the way the structure of the show works is basically it's like gamifying things in New York. So for example, what I would do, and I should do tonight, is like, I just like write a list of random things I think about in New York, neighborhoods, things. And then whenever I think of like a character I like to play, and this happened last show, is, me and my producer also were talking about, one of the things that I thought of was a New York Public Library. And then that's the thing. Like, I mean, that's the thing with creativity. Like, I don't know how ideas are formed, but they come, and it's like, it's a gift from the, like, you know, you read the fucking book, the
Rick Rubin one?
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah. But that's what,
it's good. I didn't finish it.
Neither did I, but that's his whole thing, is like ideas are just like, like they're like waiting to be, they're just like there for you. But yeah, so like the New York Public Library came up, and I just like had the idea. I was like, oh, the game is the audience has to recreate the sound of a library. And that was it. And that was the game. And then I do this character as like a New York librarian. I'm like, hello, my name is Gil. I'm a librarian for 15 years. My ears are always wet. So I guess, I mean, I'm only talking for myself, obviously, but it's like breaking it down as to like fun is such an important part of my process, especially with this. So it's like, to me, it's like I ask myself, like, what is fun? What is fun for people? So like what's like what's fun? And I just like make a list of like what's fun, and then I like move on from there, I guess. And that's what I'm saying. It's like literally starting from the seed of like, okay, let's backtrack. Like what, you know, meditating also helps, obviously. I think this comes with age, but like something I really want to be better at is my routine. I think I've been a little sloppy lately. And I think I'm going to start doing, I think I got to go to sleep earlier. I want to wake up earlier. I'm going to try this new thing where I stick my face in a bucket of ice water. Have you seen this?
I've seen plenty of like cold plunge.
I want to stick my face in ice water. Yeah.
Yeah. Feels great. Feel like $1 million.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what else about my creative process. I'm the type of person that like walks around bouncing a ball, you know, like I need movement. It's very, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people feel this way, but like sitting down with a blank fucking laptop screen, get the fuck out of here.
Do you make voice memos
I do, but I never listen to them. But I do.
Because I use them to help me write. Like when I did my Oracle deck and I wrote the guidebook, like I can't, like when I'm sitting, it's like my brain is sitting too. Like I can't really think creatively. I can just like execute. So I would like walk around the block and just wax poetic about how do I feel about Lil' Kim or like Whitney Houston or whatever. So you do it, but you don't listen back to it. But is it helpful?
That's what I'm saying. Like the act of doing it is helpful. You know, after this podcast, I'm going to do my laundry, and I think I'm going to sit in the laundry room, and I think I'm just going to like futz around and think of some stuff.
Nice. I think also like I live in a house alone, but I got myself a co-working spot because there's something about like being out of the house and away from laundry and like bills and shit. Like I can focus better, but there's definitely something about like getting out of your home and like getting out of like your natural habitat too. I think like opens up new kind of pathways.
1,000%. They're 100%. And then that's the thing. Like, I love LA. I go to LA a lot.
Do you do pilot season?
I've done in the past. So basically for the last 5-6 years, I would go to LA during January to April. And this is the first year of not doing that because I'm working on the show. I'm like, January to April, we're developing the show. And I mean, this is the most obvious statement of the year. And I feel like everybody has maybe said this. No, it doesn't matter, whatever. Like, I think the obvious thing that people say is like when you're talking about New York and LA, like in terms of my field, where to live, New York is where you create. LA is where you like sell, like you sell and make money or whatever. And it's so true because there's so much stimulation and life in New York City. Like LA has the nature, New York has the people. Like the people is the nature. And there's so much just like that's the thing. Like after this, I'm going to go do my laundry. And in the time that I walk to my laundry, I'm going to see like 4 people and they're all going to be just like so uniquely them in whatever way that means. And that is inspiring for my field or me in particular. That's like so much of what I do is, as we've mentioned, is people. So like, and that's like another fun thing I like to do when I need to be creatively stimulated is like go to something new, like a aquarium or like somebody has like a fucking, excuse me for cursing. Somebody has like a thing. I forgot where I read it. It was like some self-help book, but they were like, looking to stimulate the mind, like go on a walk, but go on a different route. Like take like a route that's like you normally don't take. And just like that whole thing, be like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah, 100%. And especially in New York, like every block is so unique. Yeah. Like I feel like, there's still, I lived there for a really long time. You've lived there for a really long time, but like there's still so much to explore. And also the people, man. The people are a gift. Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's endless inspiration. Yeah. I know I want to let you go soon because you're way over. Can I ask you just a couple more questions and we'll wrap?
Sure.
Is that okay? They're really kind of like specific, but like, and I think we talked about maybe circling back to it, but like, so you were saying like with the show, financially, like you're in the red right now, but like, do you have like production gigs or do you have like side hustles or something to like help you pay the bills? Like, do you, like how does a working actor live in New York City? Yeah.
So, I do.
I know this is like really, really personal, and so you can go as deep or as shallow as you want. But I mean, I think this is something that people are really curious about. Is like, how does this work? Like, how do I eat?
Right. So 100%, yes. And so one of the main things that came out of film school was my learning how to edit. So for when I was younger, I used to edit a lot for money. Like that was like my income. But then I also did like other stuff. Now I'm actually in a position where like a lot of the strike was horrible, but I'm a working actor and it feels really good. And
Sure.
I've been booking commercials, which is great money. And, but obviously it is such an inconsistent profession that there's no way that could be your only source of income. So actually I actually host a lot. Like MC a lot of events for corporate events, and that pays a lot. That pays well. I do.
I'm like, how do I make an event happen so that I can have you host?
Please. No, and that's the thing. So I've been hosting for a long time now, and it's a strong skill of mine. And my producer for this New York the Ride the show, she's an event planner. She comes from events. She was actually the one that. I interned at a Gawker. Remember the blog Gawker?
I remember.
She also interned at Gawker. That's how we met. And she got into events and she would hire, we've been working together for like 10 years at this point, Allison and I. And that's why this show is also low key me hosting. That's like a lot of what I do as a host. So it's kind of like that concept. Yeah, so that is what I do for income, and it's really scary. And that's the thing is like I really want to be married with kids. I would love that. It's really hard. Like when I was younger, I was like, there's no way I could do this. Like do this job and have kids. But now my mom tells me now I'm like in a place where I'm like, you just make it work.
Yeah.
And I've reached that mentality of like, you know what? When I find the right person, her and I, my dad actually said this, not to like make this, I love this quote. My dad said, all you need to do is find a person who's nice and comes from a good like a loving family, and you'll figure it out. You'll figure out the money situation. And I was like, that's nice to hear. He's like, that's like, you will figure it out if you have like love in your life. Yeah. So now I'm just like looking for the right partner. I'm single, by the way.
Ladies,
hey,
do you come from a good family?
I
Are
do.
you nice?
Yeah, are you nice?
Hit up Yoni in the DMs.
Hey. Yeah.
So, okay. So you want to be a family man?
I just want to give love to children.
Yeah.
My children.
God. Yoni, you're going to be such an amazing dad.
Thank you.
Oh my God. I love it.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. You need to be a dad.
Sick.
Besides, starting a family, like what, okay, so you have this amazing show. I'm
right.
like dying to see it. Everyone, please go to New York City and go see New York the Ride.
New York the Ride the show.
New York the Ride the show. Well, at the end, we'll let people know how they can buy tickets and everything.
Right.
Last question, and then I will release you to go do laundry. Is okay. So you're doing this show. Like, what is next? Like, what are some like goals that you have, or what are you focused on right now in your career?
So this is something I am also learned. Is for the longest time I've tried to go about it that way, about thinking about my goals and thinking about this stuff. And I have realized that is not helpful. And what is helpful is literally being present and like going to my values. And like, that's it. Like in terms of goals, I would love, this show means a lot to me and I believe in it. And that's what I'm focusing my energy on. At the same time, like in terms of my like creative, I love to act. I love to act so much. It's such a fun art form. I want to do more of it. The aspect of like figuring out the business of it does not interest me. And hopefully by the grace of God, people, casting directors, like I go out for auditions all the time. Like it's not like I'm like just starting. Like I'm a working actor, and hopefully by the grace of God in the universe, I'll book a role that hits it. But yeah, I'm just all about trying to be as present as possible. And that involves this show and seeing what happens with that show. And at the same time, like, yeah, like I'm, you know, gotta tell you, like, talking about that script got me like, write a new script and make a short. That's the thing. Like, here's a fun tidbit. And this is like pretty in line with all the stuff they were saying. I was on Marvelous Miss Maisel for like an episode, just like a under 5.
I think I saw you. I love watching the show. Like, I saw you in Russian Doll.
Yeah.
And you were on it. Like, a whole bunch of episodes and stuff like that. I love when you know someone, you're like, Yoni, I know him.
Yeah, it was cool. So I was on set. I guess this is personal, but whatever. I was on set and 2 actors, I won't say who, but 2 of the main actors, one was whatever. One was Kevin Pollak and one was the guy who plays the ex-husband, like the main dude. And it was the last season, and the younger dude was like freaking out. He was like, I like eavesdropped their conversation. Like, I was not in their conversation. I was standing next to him, but I heard them talk. And he was just like venting about how he's like, it's like, I'm not booking anything. And I'm like, I'm really scared about like when the show's over, like what to do. And Kevin Pollak said, he's like, you got to make your own shit. He's like, if you're waiting, you're creating. And like, that's the thing. That's like, you got to make your own stuff. Like, and like, that's the thing. Like, I'm going to work on this show. I'm going to see what happens with this show. And at the same time, I'm going to put out time to write my own script. That's the thing. It's like, all you could do is like make your own. And that's what you have control over. And yeah. And that's the thing. Hopefully it works out.
Yeah, it's a lot of faith. I really, really love that. What a great way to like close out this amazing episode is like, you know, wait, what did you say? If you're waiting, you got to create.
If you're waiting, you're creating.
If you're waiting, you're creating. Thank you, Kevin Pollak.
Yeah. That's
brilliant.
Yeah.
So hilarious too. Like, such an amazing dramatic character and comedic character, but
right.
So true. You got to like make your own luck and make your own destiny. And
with that said, it's like, I think for me, one of the biggest challenges is time. Is like that's the thing, is like, you want to do all this stuff. I think creatives, I can only speak for myself, have a really hard time scheduling. And like, that is a skill that I wish I was better at. I'm not good at it, but that's like the key to getting stuff done, is like scheduling and like treating that schedule with respect.
Yeah. I was just talking to my coaching client about this, about time blocking, and like, you, like that time that you're working, that she's working on her business, you know, you're working on your creative projects that you really give a shit about, like, you protect that at all costs. Yeah. You know, like when I was making like my Oracle docs or, you know, like the podcast, my phone's on do not disturb. I tell everyone I know, like, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. till noon, I'm offline. Yeah. Like, I'm busy. I'm not available for anything, you know? Yeah. You really, you have to protect it. And I think like, you know, it's weird, I think, and kind of like awkward at first to say like, I'm working on this podcast or my own project or whatever, versus like being there for other people or like doing paid work or whatever. But it's like, if you don't block out this time, it's never going to happen, you know? So I suck with time too, but it's always, you know, just work in progress, throw everything in my calendar.
Exactly.
Yoni, I adore you. I've always thank you so much for doing this. You're the funniest person I've ever fucking met. And I love seeing you and stuff. And I will be coming to a show, and I will let you know which one that is or whatever, so I can give you a big hug.
For sure.
But thank you so much. And thank you for like being very open and honest and vulnerable and empathetic. And your work is really great. And everyone should go see New York
NYC tips
Right.
and tricks. Oh.
All the New York, just Google New York.
Yeah,
Yoni
there's
Lotan.
a theme here. Yeah.
So can you tell people like where they can find you on the internet and how they can get tickets to your show?
For sure. You could just follow me on Instagram, I think is the best way to go about it, which is at Yoni Lotan, YONILOTAN. Go to my website, yonilotan.com. Tickets are at Littlefield's website. March 20th is our next show. March 20th. And then I believe, we'll be doing a show a month, and stay tuned for those dates. But yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Yoni. I'll let you go do laundry now.
Natalie, thank you so much. This was great.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Hey there. Thank you so much for joining our podcast today. I hope you really enjoyed it. If you would consider liking, subscribing, and even leaving us a comment. This way, it will help us to keep the podcast alive and continue to bring you some really awesome interviews and nuggets of creative wisdom. So thank you again for checking us out. I'll see you next time.